Hi guys, so we're still working through this in all of the videos. This is what we're addressing, and we are up to complaints and grievances. Now, funnily enough, this is one of my favorite topics because I really see if a parent is brave enough or somebody is brave enough to complain. Now, working as a governance advisor for as long as I have, parents are generally really apprehensive about lodging complaints. Some parents complain all the time about all sorts of things, but a genuine complaint, it's very, very brave for a parent to do that because they hold concerns for their child, which in reality it doesn't really happen, although it may. So a parent to complain to you is very brave, and you need to take it seriously. Now, there are some myths around complaints that they have to be written in writing and all that. No, our education and care legislation states that if you receive a complaint, whether that's verbal, whether that's anonymous, whether that's in writing, whatever that is, that if there is a complaint that alleges that the legislation has been breached, then that needs to be followed up. So the complaints range from the educator lost my socks, right up to, and I deal with this stuff every day, right up to the educator pinched my child and left a bruise, right up to the educator's partner has taken my child upstairs and makes my child uncomfortable. So this is the kind of complaints that we deal with every day. Although most of the time you'll be dealing with complaints like my child came home hungry, or my child was still thirsty, or those sorts of things. If you understand the education and care legislation, then you will be able to direct those complaints appropriately. The service that you're registered with should give you a complaints and grievance policy so that you are able to identify what is a formal complaint or a notifiable complaint and how that should be managed. So any complaint at all that you receive, you must pass on to the service that you're registered with. So some of the obligations that you have with complaints is making sure that you pass that information on. And if a family doesn't want to complain to you directly because they are a little bit concerned, you need to have on your prescribed information. I hope you know what I mean by that, your prescribed information. So that's the information that you need to have available to parents that parents can access. You need to have the details of the person of who that complaint needs to go to. So if you are an educator and I were the service provider, you need to have on your wall somewhere where a parent can walk in and maybe without you knowing say, you know what, I think I really need to talk to Jody, so they can contact me. So you've got a lot of obligations when it comes to complaints and grievances. So firstly, I'm going to tell you, so a grievance is where maybe you and a parent, or you and an educator assistant, or you and the service, a grievance is something, an issue that two parties can't agree on. So that's something you can't agree on. A complaint is that the legislation has been breached. And that includes food and water, that includes dressing appropriately, that includes a rest environment, that includes your visitors. So that includes a whole range of things where legislation has alleged to be breached, okay? Now, what really should happen is your service provider should come out and help you conduct some kind of investigation to determine whether or not that complaint has been substantiated, whether the parent is right, whether you're right, whether they're not. Now, working with families, even if they're wrong and you have done the right thing, then that comes down to some customer service and working with families to make sure that they feel safe, that they feel secure, that they have trust in you. So in many cases, complaints can be resolved really, really quickly. So when a parent complains to you, often what we see is a parent complains and the educator gets really defensive and doesn't deal with it very well. So therefore the parent goes home feeling unsatisfied, or they feel like the issue hasn't been resolved. So that's when that relationship angst comes into place. So my advice to you is, if a parent complains to you, listen to them and think about it. They may be right, and in a lot of cases they are right. So if you can control that defensive behavior and say, okay, maybe I'll have a little think about this. Now, when dealing with complaints, as I've already said, you need to notify your service provider, but you also need to say to families, if you're unsure, rather than saying, no, we don't do that. No, I can guarantee you. I've worked in services where children have gone home with a dirty nappy and it got missed somehow. So then you've got to say, okay, well, maybe that did happen. Maybe I do need to look back and see what went wrong. Was I really busy at that time? Did I forget something? What happened that went wrong? So sometimes parents are legitimate in their allegations, and it's up to you to have that reflective practice in order to sit back and say, well, did this happen? How did this happen, and how can we deal with this? Now, remember, in this guide, I've got all the obligations here for you, and some of our recommendations of what you can do about this and what your reporting obligations are. So even if you don't agree with the complaint, you need to report those allegations onto your service provider, okay? So hopefully that helps. I'll see you in the next one. We'll talk real soon. See ya. Bye.